Hello everyone, Jonathan Meek here from Clear to Close. Today we're starting out in beautiful downtown Monroe to talk about the first step in the residential real estate transaction. That first step is the contracting phase, and we're going to break it down into three easy sections: offer, negotiation, and execution. We're going to use the acronym ONE or ONE to explain it all. Coming up. Hello everyone, Jonathan Meek here with Clear to Close, bringing you the best guidance for a fast, efficient, and error-free closing. On this channel, we provide videos designed to educate buyers, sellers, agents, and other settlement professionals on the latest tips and strategies for a successful real estate or business closing. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. The contracting phase of the real estate transaction provides the roadmap for two, ultimately, in most cases, perfect strangers to embark on about a 45-day journey to trade ownership and occupancy of a residence for cold, hard cash. I want to use the acronym ONE to lay out three steps to the contracting phase and the one way to completing this phase successfully. So the first step of the contracting phase is the offer, and the buyer is typically the one that's going to make the offer. As the buyer creating an offer, you want to lay out the purchase price. You want to let the seller know exactly how much you want to pay for the property. You also want to lay out a description of the property that you want to purchase. Now, the property that you want to purchase is obviously going to be the real estate, but it's also potentially going to be some of the personal property. You may want to ask for a refrigerator or some of the appliances or something to be left behind, like furniture. If you want those to be part of the offer, that you want to buy those as part of the transaction, you need to put those in writing along with it. You also want to, at this time, set out any contingencies that you have in the transaction as the buyer. So for instance, if the offer is contingent on the sale of your current residence, you need to make sure that that is in the offer so the seller knows exactly what to expect from the outset. It is also appropriate at this time for the buyer to ask seller for any concessions that they want them to make in the transaction. If you as the buyer are going to be asking for the seller to pay any of your closing costs, now is the time to do so. A properly articulated offer will provide the seller with all the information that they need to know to accept the offer with no changes if they're willing to do so at that time. The next step is to get that offer into the hands of your realtor or directly into the hands of the seller. Then we're going to start the second phase, which is N for negotiating. Once the offer is placed in the hands of the seller, it's up for the seller to decide if any negotiation must take place. This is where sellers, you decide if you want to ask for more money, a shorter due diligence time period, a different closing date, fewer contingencies, or even add some contingencies of your own. You also want to request any concessions of the buyer or reject their request for concessions at this time. Sellers, once you've made your decision, it's up to you to hand that document back over to the buyer to see if they accept. And once we've got a meeting of the minds between the two parties and all of the terms are agreed to, then and only then can we move on to the next phase, which is E for executing the contract. The third and final step of the contracting phase is executing the purchase contract. This, in my opinion, is the most important part of the entire residential real estate transaction process. It's because the parties at this point in time are going to get together and put their signatures on a document that will form a legally binding contract to take them from the contracting phase all the way through the close and into the exchange of the assets. I want to talk about two specific things here that I think are of the utmost importance in this. This is the first time in the process that the parties are becoming legally bound to something, and because of that, I want to stress the importance of following a two-step execution process and not just a one-step execution process of just signing on the dotted line. The most important thing that I think the buyers and sellers need to know at this point is that they are actually getting ready to execute a legal document, and that means that there are certain legalities at play. For instance, in order to have a legally binding document, certain elements must be met. There must be competent parties, a bargain for exchange, there must be consideration, there must be a legal purpose to the contract. I'm not going to get into the specific legalities of a particular contract in this one. If you need an opinion on the specific legalities, feel free to call Meek Law Firm to talk about that. But the reason I'm giving so much emphasis to this is because this is the first time in the real estate contracting process that the parties are going to be bound together legally, which means one party could eventually hold the other party accountable for something that they did or didn't do inside of this contract if the contract fails to close. That's why I believe it's of the utmost importance to follow a two-step execution process. What I mean by that is this: instead of just signing off, you need to make sure that before you sign anything, you thoroughly read and review the purchase contract. You've just gone through an offer phase and a negotiation phase, and all of the terms that you just came up with in those two phases need to be reduced to writing and contained within that contract that you're about to sign. Because if you don't see it in the contract, it's as if it didn't happen and it's not a part of your contract. Moving forward, if you find all of the terms that you agreed to in the contract and you're satisfied that all of the terms and things that you bargained for are contained within the document, then it's time for you to sign that document, put your signature on it, and move on to the next phase. Thank you so very much for tuning in to our video today on the contracting phase of the residential real estate closing. We hope that you find the information that we've provided today valuable to you. If you have, please hit that like button. If you are interested in hearing more about this or have a comment or question that you would like to present to us, please feel free to put that in the comments section below. We'll be happy to respond as soon as possible. And if you are about to embark on your own real estate transaction, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell, because we're going to be putting out a series of videos with more information about the real estate transaction process, and we'd love to make sure you have those as up to date as possible. So thank you so much again for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again on Clear to Close.